I'm sick of watching Caitlin getting attacked. If the league doesn't step up and protect her, things are going to get ugly.
For weeks, Caitlin Clark found herself at the center of on-court clashes, taking repeated hits, while the WNBA remained glaringly silent. The fans, they were furious. The analysts, cautious, careful, walking a tightrope around the controversy. And then the silence was broken, but not by the league. No, the first real voices came from the other side, from the NBA's heavyweights. This wasn't the usual polished PR statement or a tweet written by a media team. This was raw. This was real. It was unfiltered, emotional, and loud. Steph Curry, LeBron James, Luka Dončić, and others weren't just tipping their hats to Caitlin's skills. They were stepping in, defending her, because what they saw happening in real time crossed a line. Steph especially had seen enough. He'd witnessed the cheap shots, heard the absence of accountability, and when he finally spoke, the reverberations were felt far and wide across the basketball world. Because when someone like Steph Curry publicly says, "This isn't okay," people stop, they listen, and they take note. And he wasn't standing alone. At least 6 NBA All-Stars made it crystal clear. Caitlin Clark isn't some viral moment. She's not a phase. She's an elite hooper, period, being unfairly singled out. And they weren't having it. So, what exactly did they say? What were those unfiltered, straight-from-the-heart reactions from the NBA's most influential voices? Let's break it down. Before we dive in, please consider subscribing to this channel. That motivates me to create more content. Thanks for subscribing, and now let's jump to the topic. Because some of their words, they might just surprise you. When NBA players show love, it usually stays in their own backyard. So when Pascal Siakam, the champion, the all-star, one of the smoothest two-way threats in the game, was asked a casual question about who gets the most love in basketball today, most expected a generic name, maybe a safe answer. But Pascal, he went off script. Unprompted and unexpectedly, he brought up Caitlin Clark, not just as a token mention, but with intent. He didn't toss her name out as a side note. He spotlighted her.
Oh man, Caitlin she's a beast, man. Like, and they love her. So I'll probably say Caitlin Clark. I love Tyrese, but she's another level in terms of just the love that she has.
And here's the kicker. He wasn't comparing her to her WNBA peers. He was stacking her up against NBA players. His own teammate, Tyrese Haliburton to be exact. He still said Caitlin was getting more love. Includes Haliburton. That's not just fandom, that's acknowledgement, that's a statement, and it's a serious gut check to anyone still clinging to the idea that the WNBA exists in some kind of silo. You know someone's influence is real when they get named in conversations normally reserved for NBA elite. Pascal could have gone with any top player. He said Caitlin. That's not a headline, it's a cultural shift. She's breaking the invisible barriers between leagues. And players like Pascal, they're all in. He didn't need to say what he said, but he did, and that matters. Obi Toppin isn't known for long interviews or headline-making quotes, but that's exactly why his words stood out. His take on Caitlin wasn't rehearsed or flashy. It was real. It was honest. Obi plays with swagger, with highlight reel energy, but when the conversation turned to Caitlin, his tone shifted. It wasn't just respect. It was admiration. The kind you say for people doing more than just putting up numbers. The kind of admiration reserved for those changing the landscape.
Yeah, Caitlin's amazing. Super amazing. She's a great player. Having her be courtside and watching our games is awesome. We see the excitement that she has on the sides. But just like she's doing that, we do the same. Like when they're playing, like it's so much. It's a joy to watch.
And it's not even about what he said. It's how he said it. He spoke about Caitlin and the WNBA not like it's a different league, but like it's an equal part of the same basketball universe. Not a sideshow, not an afterthought. There's something powerful about that.
There's something cool about seeing NBA players look at Caitlin Clark sitting courtside, not as a celeb who showed up, but as a peer, a baller, one of them. Obi's quote might not trend on social media, but it doesn't have to. Because sometimes, it's the small things that carry the most weight.
Caitlin's not just one of the top women's players anymore. She's a hooper, full stop. And when Tyrese Haliburton chimed in, it hit even harder. Because this wasn't about hype or geography, even though he shares a city with her. It wasn't some PR play to say something nice about the hometown hero. This came from proximity, from watching her, knowing her, seeing her weather the storm that comes with being Caitlin Clark in 2025.
She's, I think for me, getting to actually spend time around her, be around her, get to know her personally, she's just an amazing person, an amazing player. She deals with a lot there's a lot of rhetoric behind her that she really has no control over, and I think that the way she handles that is just amazing. Like, I think when it comes to the game of basketball, like, she's probably top 5 most famous people that are playing right now, just in general. That includes our league as well.
And Tyrese didn't just recognize her game. He put her in the same breath as LeBron, Steph, and Jokic. He said she's already one of the 5 most famous players in basketball. That's not hyperbole. That's reality. He sees the numbers, the headlines, the frenzied fan base. He understands what it means to carry a franchise.
And he knows Caitlin's carrying something even heavier, and she's doing it with grit and grace. And more than anything, his words carried empathy. He didn't just back her as a baller. He stood up for her as a person. Tyrese sees the noise, the pressure, the hate she never asked for. And he's not afraid to say, she's more than ready.
Then there's LeBron. When he talks, the entire sports world reorients. Every sentence becomes a moment. Every pause gets replayed. That's the weight you carry when you've been the face of basketball for 20 years. So when LeBron spoke up about Caitlin, it wasn't a casual shout-out. It was a full-throated endorsement. It was a moment of clarity in the middle of chaos. A deeper message cutting through the backlash and focusing everyone on what really matters.
Because everybody is looking for you to say anything, and they're going to splice it and cut it and make it a negative thing. And I think for her, the one thing that I love that she's bringing to her sport, more people want to watch. More people want to tune in. I saw for the first time that they had a chartered plane for the first time in their league history. They flew private. That should be celebrated in his own right.
LeBron wasn't just defending Caitlin. He was standing up for progress. He's been there. He knows what it feels like to carry expectations, to be the reason the game changes. The private flights, the media circus, the target on your back. That's not just about basketball. That's legacy-level pressure. And when LeBron sees someone else carrying that weight and doing it with poise, he recognizes that. He respects that. And maybe, just maybe, he sees a little bit of himself in Caitlin Clark.
That's not fandom. That's a torch being passed.
Trae Young brought his own energy into the mix, with a bit of flair, of course, suggesting a three-point shootout with one of the most iconic shooters in women's basketball isn't just playful, it's telling. It's confidence meeting admiration. Trae knows what it means to be a flamethrower from deep. But when he talks about Caitlin, it's not competitive shade. It's straight-up respect.
He's not mocking her, he's studying her. He knows her shot is legit. Only 2 players in NCAA history have ever led the nation in both points and assists in a single season. Caitlin's one of them. That's not trivia, that's greatness.
And when Trae says he'd need to get his reps up to match her, that's humility. That's one generational shooter tipping his cap to another. Then there's Paul George, a thinker, a tactician. When he speaks, it's not just about takes, it's about perspective. He didn't rush into praise, he zoomed out. He talked about the culture.
You got to put it in perspective, right? These girls have been grinding to grow the game of basketball in the WNBA. They've been grinding to grow the sport to the world, the viewerships. They've been grinding for all of this. And then you have this girl that comes along from college and is an instant change. She's handed pretty much being the face of the league. There's going to be girls that are offended by that.
The veterans, the women who laid the foundation of the WNBA, without the lights, the jets, or the viral moments, the ones who grinded for years without Caitlin-level attention. And now, with Caitlin at the center, things are shifting fast. It's not about blaming her, it's about understanding the sting.
Paul didn't excuse resentment. He made it human. He showed us what this moment really means for the league, for its past, and for its future. Luka Dončić, ever the straight shooter, weighed in with his signature candor. When asked about women's hoops, he didn't sugarcoat or sidestep. He didn't offer safe diplomacy. He said what he meant.
Who's your favorite women's basketball player?
Caitlin Clark.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't like Paige Buchers?
Well, she's okay. I didn't see her playing the women's NBA, so.
He didn't shade other players, but he was clear. Caitlin's doing it now in the pros. That's the bar, not hype, not potential. Performance. Today. Night in, night out.
Luka knows what it takes to transition from college legend to pro-level producer. And the way he talked about Caitlin, that wasn't just praise. That was a stamp. Real recognizes real, and Luka recognized her. And finally, back to where we started, Steph Curry, the man who literally changed the way basketball is played. He saw the hits, he saw the silence, and he said, enough. But he didn't just call out the hate. He broke down her game with the insight only he could offer. He talked range, timing, feel. He talked performance. When Steph Curry, the greatest shooter we've ever seen, says Caitlin Clark's shot is on par with his, that's not PR. That's truth. That's respect from the top of the mountain.
I'm sick of watching Caitlin getting attacked. If the league doesn't step up and protect her, things are going to get ugly real fast.
And he didn't stop at shooting. He praised the vision, the passing, the little things casual fans don't even notice, but hoopers do. Caitlin Clark didn't just impress Steph. She earned his admiration. And that's
I saw somebody break down the release time, which is pretty much identical to mine. And then her just confidence out. You can't help but watch when she plays, where she's shooting from, the range, the confidence, the flair. Like, she's a performer. It's crazy though, just because her shot is it's like that. It's at that level. If you really watch, like her floor game is as impressive. So it's kind of the total package.
Listen, because when the guy who redefined the game says, "You've got it all," that's not just praise. That's prophecy. That's legacy. There are moments when silence says everything. And then there are moments when voices rise, when players step in, and when history shifts. This is one of those moments.
Caitlin Clark has already shattered expectations, but what's happening now is bigger than stats or highlights. When the NBA's biggest stars step up, not just to praise, but to protect and elevate, it tells you everything. This isn't just a moment in women's basketball. It's a shift in the game.
And Caitlin Clark is at the center of it.